So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for joining us today. I'm going to start by asking all of our participants and all of our guests who joined us for this discussion today to go ahead and mute yourself for the time being, and we'll have a audience Q&A and participation a little bit further on in the presentation. Welcome to Digital Enterprise Society's first Career Center Live Q&A. My name is Courtney Mcmurder. I'll be your host for today's virtual chat with the experts on current and future employment outlook. Digital Enterprise Society is a new nonprofit member association organized to enable the transformation of product development, design, delivery, and maintenance throughout the digital enterprise, regardless of software tools used. We are dedicated to the transformation of the manufacturing enterprise workforce. If you're not already a member of Digital Enterprise Society, I invite you to join us. You can find out more at digitalenterprisesociety.org. Again, my name is Courtney Mcmurder. I'm the Marketing Communications Manager at Digital Enterprise Society. If you have any questions about membership or any of the things that we'll talk about here today, please feel free to contact me and I'm happy to help you. As I mentioned, if you could go ahead and leave yourself on mute for the first portion of our presentation today, and then we'll have a interactive discussion and Q&A following the first portion of our presentation here today. I'd like to welcome Justin and Kevin, and especially thanks to Barry Vince. Barry is the Digital Enterprise Society Career Development Trustee. And we want to thank them, Barry and Sarrah, again, for helping us put this together today and inviting Justin and Kevin to join us. And I'll let them take it from here and introduce everybody.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So this is actually the first of a three-part series. So we hope that you'll tune in to the second and third. Those dates will come out a little bit later, but the second will probably be sometime in mid-August. We're really excited today to have Justin Rosenberg and Kevin Wright with us to talk about the current and future employment outlook. Obviously, things have been in great flux over the last few months, and so we're very interested in hearing their perspectives. Justin is a relationship manager with LinkedIn, and as everyone knows, LinkedIn is arguably the most dominant social media platform for business. No argument. And so he's going to give us LinkedIn's perspective on basically what we're seeing, what he's seeing out there in the market with respect to employment. Kevin Wright is CEO of Vantage Associates and a former leader of a number of multinational billion-dollar companies. He's going to give us his perspective on what he sees in the employment market from a business perspective, and also some thoughts on what people who are in the current job market can do to kind of boost their whole profile. So we're going to start with Justin, and Barry and I are going to fire away some questions if we see a need. And but at this point, Justin, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then let's get started.
Sounds good. Pleasure to be here. Thank you all for attending. Just a little bit of a background about myself. So like they said, I'm a relationship manager here at LinkedIn. I've been with LinkedIn for about 5 months now. And what my role here at LinkedIn is, I specifically work with staffing firms. So I work with about like 120 to 150 staffing firms to help them be more successful with LinkedIn, whether it's recruiting, business development, or marketing. My job here is just to help our customers be more successful with LinkedIn. Prior to LinkedIn, I worked at a company called Insight Global where I recruited for 3 years. So, I'm very well versed in just the recruiting and staffing space. And yeah, that's kind of just a little bit of an introduction about me. And what I'm going to be talking about today, I just wanted to talk about like the overall state of the employment and staffing market. And I'm going to be grouping these together just because, what we've seen at LinkedIn from our economists is that the staffing industry is usually a really strong indicator of the employment market, especially coming out of a downturn. So I'm going to be talking about that and some of the interesting trends that I personally have been seeing and what we're seeing overall within the economy. I'm then going to talk about like some best practices and recommendations from a business as well as a candidate perspective on things that you guys can be doing to adapt with the current landscape and put yourself in a position to come out of this even better. My one thing that I would say, I don't think doing things the way that you have been doing or waiting for things to go back to normal is going to be the answer. I think adapting is really, going to be the key to success. So that's going to be the things that I'll be going over today. So going into what I've been seeing, just to kind of give you an idea of what's been going on across the landscape. So like I said, here at LinkedIn, I work with about 120 to 150 staffing firms. And what we've seen going on with companies is they've really been falling into three distinct buckets. We've seen companies that are exceeding normal expectations, doing better than they ever have done before. Industries like healthcare, mortgage, engineering, IT, e-commerce, call centers. So that's one bucket. We've also been seeing ones that are just business as usual, haven't really been affected, are still operating at the same capacity as they always have. And then the ones that have been severely decimated, travel, hospitality, marketing, oil and gas. So I wanted to give you this idea. So like if your business is falling into any of these buckets, you are not alone, I promise. And that's where we've really been seeing across the landscape where companies have been falling into. So when we've been looking at the staffing industry as a whole, what we've been seeing throughout the pandemic and the trends that have been happening is really like a swoosh shape, like a Nike swoosh. If you looked at any of the top public staffing firms like Robert Half, Kelly Services, Manpower, they all follow this same pattern. And I don't know if any of you guys have experienced this or felt this way, but so like in March, we all saw a sharp decline like this. And then in April, things have started to rebound slowly. Like in March, when all of this started, things were awful. We were all freaking out. There was a sharp decline with people being laid off, jobs were being cut throughout March. And then in April, you started to slowly see a rebound to get back to where we were. What we've seen. Oh, sorry, was there a question there?
Nope, you're good.
Okay. So what we saw in May from like a data perspective that illustrated some of this rebound. So in May, we saw number of hires jumped by 60%, while there was a 58% decrease in the number of separations. So like layoffs, furloughs, and stuff like that. So what we've been seeing in the main takeaway from our data over these last couple months is, yes, we do remain in the early tentative stages. It is what likely is going to be a very long recovery, but things are finally starting to turn around and it looks promising. So there is hope and there is light at the end of the tunnel. What I wanted to do now is just kind of give you guys some insight from a talent perspective on what industries and jobs are seeing the most decline and the ones that are seeing an increase in demand. Courtney, would you mind pulling up those couple slides? Okay, amazing. So what we see here, so this is the top 10 industries with the largest spikes in job applications during the second quarter. I would say so. I think there are two sides of the coin here. So like some of these industries are being crushed and are being decimated, and then some of these are just seeing an increase in demand. So industries like marketing, finance, education, HR, we've seen those industries be affected heavily. A lot of people are losing jobs, layoffs, that sort of thing. So that's why you'll see such a spike in job applications for those types of roles. But then when you go to like customer service, engineering, healthcare, those are industries that have actually seen an uptick throughout all of this. So that's why there's a higher amount of applicants there. So this just kind of illustrates some of these industries that are really being affected and are really struggling, as well as some of them that are having an uptick and are seeing even more success. And there's a higher demand for those types of people.
So from a competitive standpoint, if you're in the job market, you're looking at marketing and you're saying, oh my gosh, the applicants are up 127%. I really need to sharpen my pencil and make sure that I'm a standout.
Exactly. With marketing, we've seen a lot like that. That's one of the industries that's been affected the most. Like marketing and creative, a lot of people have been laid off and have lost jobs. So yes, there's a lot of people on the market right now, and the jobs there aren't as many as there were before. So yes, it's very competitive. If you're somebody in the marketing industry, then yes, definitely sharpen your tools and you need to upskill to be able to stand out right now. Courtney, would you mind moving to the next slide? And now here's just giving you an idea of the jobs on LinkedIn that we've seen with the fastest growing demand. So, jobs like drivers, we've seen like Uber Eats drivers, Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, Postmates drivers, stuff like that. There's been a huge increase in demand for those types of people with, delivery being very important right now. Then you see like software architects, site reliability engineers. Like I said, IT and engineering, that's been one of the industries that has been affected the least and has actually been doing really well. So there's a lot of hiring going on there. One of the industries where we have seen a ton of growth and a lot of just influx in demand is in the call center space. So like customer service specialists, we're seeing a large increase there, as well as like cooks. If you're, restaurants are starting to open up. So we're seeing cooks being hired, and then nurses. As everybody knows, the healthcare industry is booming right now. Everybody needs more nurses. So that's what we've been seeing here on LinkedIn.
Interesting. I'm sort of surprised to see the architect on there. So does that mean there's a lot of building and new development going on?
Yeah, so I think so. At first, construction was one of the industries that was hit the most. But I think it has started to rebound, or no, it has started to rebound in certain parts of the country where these health restraints are being lifted. Because, I mean, when you think about it, right now is honestly a pretty good time to be doing construction with everybody working from home. They can work on these buildings all day. So yes, we have started to see a rebound in construction after, at first that was one of the industries that was actually hit the most. Okay, so I guess now moving on to just some recommendations on what I think we should be doing moving forward, whether you're a candidate looking for a job right now or a business. A lot of what I'm hearing from people that I'm working with is I hear people saying, oh, we're going to wait for things to go back to normal. I'm just going to wait it out. I think that's probably the biggest mistake that you can make right now. From both a business and a candidate perspective, we must adapt. We must be agile. I think if you wait for things to go back to normal, you're going to get left in the dust. So from like a business perspective, I think for the first time, the large staffing firms and the small staffing firms are on the same playing field. Everyone's struggling, and there's a really good opportunity for those small staffing firms to be able to gain some of that market share if you are forward thinking. And I think from a candidate perspective, we really must put an emphasis on learning and development and upskilling ourselves. People are going to be looking to cut employees wherever they can, and we need to increase our value and develop more skills. Because what you're going to see moving forward is some jobs are going to be phased out, lower level jobs are going to be phased out, and you need to be able to show value. So I think, developing yourself is really important right now.
And aren't you going to be so much more marketable if you are taking advantage of some time to, again, increase your value, maybe even find a part-time job so that you're not sitting around, you're showing that you're, out in the market, you want to get hired. I mean, I just think overall it's a great way to sell yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll go into that a little bit more, but yeah, learning new skills, like learning some technical skills, trying out different jobs. Like you said, you'll be much more marketable, and just a much more valuable candidate in the market. I don't think you can just rely on what you've been doing in the past or like skills that you have. I think you must continue to grow and develop new skills, whether that means getting certifications, just learning different things. I think we really need to put an emphasis on that, especially from a candidate perspective of people that are in the market right now looking for jobs.
Yeah, Justin, question for you. So on the LinkedIn platform, I'm active on LinkedIn and I want to add something to my skill set. Let's just say it's a Microsoft program, so I'm better at Excel or something like that. Do you guys have, searchable ways to find these ways to expand my skills?
Absolutely. So we do have LinkedIn Premium, which actually enables you to be able to do our LinkedIn Learning courses. LinkedIn Learning, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of courses to be able to learn whatever it is that you guys want, literally like anything. So if that is something that you guys would like to do, I would recommend looking into a LinkedIn Premium membership. I know I sound a little bit biased, but we have really just great learning material. So that's a really good way to learn new skills.
Is the learning material, is there an additional cost to that if I have the premium membership?
No, so the learning materials, they do come with the LinkedIn Premium.
Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
so I can get on there for that small fee and then basically just go ahead and add a whole bunch of bullets to my resume.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you can actually get certified through those LinkedIn learning courses, and then you can put that on your LinkedIn profile. So everybody will know that you're now certified in Excel, any like Microsoft tool, like anything you guys want. Um, it's a good way.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. And, going into kind of like some specific, tactical ways that we can adapt and be agile, like I said, like businesses and people in the workforce, like we must adapt right now to come out on top. I think for one, for both, whether you're a business or you're a person in the market right now looking for a job, I think investing in meaningful relationships is more important now than ever. And I know that may seem counterintuitive. It's like we're working remotely right now. How are we going to, build better relationships? I think that's exactly why it's more important now than ever. I think we need to be connecting with people, networking, growing your professional network, getting introductions, because trust is going to be crucial for all aspects of hiring moving forward. With us working remote, interviews are going to be tough for hiring managers. They're going to be nervous and scared about, interviewing people over the phone or over, Zoom, and never being able to meet people in person. Um, and I think just finding reliable candidates is going to be so important right now. And referrals and utilizing your network for hiring is going to be critical moving forward. With everyone just working remotely, I think really investing in your network and trying to build that out, whether it's, getting coffee over Zoom with somebody or seeing somebody at a company that you're interested in and asking for an introduction, I think that's going to be more important than ever for both from a hiring perspective as well as candidates looking for jobs right now.
Yeah.
So I would say an emphasis on that is important.
Interesting that you bring that up because I've been doing this a long time and I'm probably closer to my customers and my client partners than I ever have been. It seems like
Exactly.
accessibility has improved, I mean, dramatically over since the COVID days, and probably because of the virtual chats that we can have these days and so forth. And it seems like everybody seems to be way more receptive to just chats about things. And it doesn't need to be about business, just what's going on, what are you seeing out there? I think because we're all just sort of interested in different opinions on what's happening out there. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good time to do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think specifically for businesses, like what you were saying, your relationships are stronger now than ever. I think businesses and staffing firms, we need to be doing business differently. I don't think going about staffing the traditional way of, just putting people to work and having it being very transactional, I don't think that's going to work anymore. I think you really need to have that personal touch and be able to build those relationships, and also just actually going about your business differently, doing things like this, like setting up like webinars to talk about the employment market, investing in like thought leadership and doing things that are going to help the community, like coaching sessions and like webinars like this. I think that's going to be really important for businesses. I think you really need to personalize and like show compassion and empathy, and help people right now. And I think that's going to be the real way that people earn more business. I don't think it's going to be the same traditional way.
And Justin, if I might make a comment on that, the one thing I've
Yeah.
found is that going through the crisis that we're in right now, which is both industrial and social and economic, I've found that people, just to your point, have been a lot more amenable to having a chat with you.
Mm-hmm.
They're not playing the, oh, you just want a job. They're very happy to engage with you, provide network access, actually sit down and have a real constructive conversation with you and provide advice. I'm finding that there's a lot more willingness to do that than there ever has been, where it was very, what's in it for me? I think now it's what's in it for all of us. And I think that entire feeling seems to be out there right now. So exactly to your point, use your network. Don't wait until you need a job to go link to the person, right? Have a relationship with them first. I think all of those things pan out.
Totally. I couldn't agree more with everything that you said. I mean, with everybody working from home right now, like we've seen record numbers of engagement on like LinkedIn. People are more open to hopping on the phone with people just being from home. So I think like take advantage of that and really try and build your network and build those relationships. And kind of on that note, I think from both a business side as well as a candidate in the workforce looking for a job, I think investing in your digital footprint and building your brand online is going to be extremely important right now. So like if you're regardless business or a candidate, I think like posting content, investing in thought leadership, like I said, doing things like this, like webinars, whatever it is, I think it's just going to be really important. So for like you guys that have LinkedIn profiles, I think it's critical that you guys really build out a nice LinkedIn profile. What I'll do after this is I could actually send you guys all some tips on how to build out a Rockstar LinkedIn profile. And, just putting a personal touch on it, just because, with us not being able to interact in person right now, people are going to be doing the research on you like on LinkedIn, and that might be like all they know about you. So I think that's crucial right now. And that's one thing, like I said, I'll send that over to you guys after this. But yeah, just overall, your digital footprint is something I would take super serious right now. Just with us, all working digitally.
Thanks, Justin. Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. I will. I'll pass it along after this.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think engagement is really crucial right now. I think people are wanting engagement, and so jump into that and really take advantage of kind of that whole shift and feel. It's just such a great opportunity.
No, it really is. Yeah, like what we've seen on LinkedIn with engagement, I think we've seen over like a 250% rise in engagement. People are more active than ever, whether it's doing webinars like this, coaching sessions, commenting on posts, sharing posts. Like it by far the most active people have ever been on LinkedIn. So yes, I would just highly suggest that you take advantage of that right now.
Right, and I think at the moment people are feeling very isolated. Right, I mean, you're operating remotely. You're away from the team you used to hang out with, and some people that are on their own. They don't have family around them. It's a fantastic opportunity to reach out and be part of the community rather than feel that isolation. And the tool set is there to do it now. And I think LinkedIn gives you a great opportunity to reach out and ask the questions and feel as though you're not the only person searching. You're not the only person with a miserable life. You're not the only person that's on your own, right? I mean, it's definitely a way of making sure you don't lose touch of people during this more isolated working environment.
Exactly. That was pretty much all I had for my spiel, though. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and yeah, I will. I'll pass around that PowerPoint deck, like I said, for the LinkedIn profiles. And yeah, if anybody ever has like any one-on-one questions or wants to take this offline and ask me about anything LinkedIn related, I'm happy to do that as well.
Absolutely, and at the end of this, and then I think the majority of people actually watch this on a recording, so Justin's contact information will be on there if anybody needs to get a hold of him. And just a quick plug for Justin, Sales Navigator, Sales I don't know how a business goes about it without him. I mean, and thank you for all your help with everything, Justin. You're awesome.
Absolutely, Gary. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Kevin, you are up. And just a reminder, Kevin's going to discuss from a business perspective where he sees the market going, the employment market, kind of what businesses and candidates need to do to position themselves right now for the future and like all the changes that have happened over the last 3 to 4 months. So thanks for being here, Kevin.
Thanks very much. So Justin, whatever Justin said, absolutely. So I'm going to be reiterating some of the points that he brought up, but I'm going to kind of bring it down to an industry level where we're going to talk through some of the things that I've seen in the business I'm in, but also the related businesses and the customers we serve. So as I say, what's the quote? We live in interesting times, right? And there's a lot of flux, right? There's a lot of change going on in the market. And certainly in my industry, I'm in the aerospace defense business. And for my sins, I've been in it for nearly 40 years, clearly straight out of the crib. And and I've attacked it from various angles. I started off with the engineering side and worked my way into customer service, into sales and marketing. And I'm fortunate now to run a business in the Los Angeles area. But the industry I'm in is defined as essential, right? So CISA, which is the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, they've defined certain businesses as must-haves. And it was quite interesting, frankly, when the COVID lockdown started to kick in, everybody was unsure, do I go to work? Don't I go to work? And we initially told everybody stay at home. And then we had these panic emails coming from all of our customers saying, oh my goodness, what do you mean you're not there? You're supposed to be in. Look, CISA says you're supposed to be in. So it was a bit of a mess to start with, but I think now it's very clear what's essential and what's not essential. And the aerospace and defense business is essential, which means we have to deliver to our commitments. Unfortunately, most businesses that are in the defense sphere also have a foot in the commercial sphere. And anybody that's been watching the news about Boeing and Airbus and Raytheon and laying people off will understand that that's not necessarily a happy place to be right now. You know, anything associated with airlines and all of the issues they've had, it's a challenge. So we have to operate and we have to deliver our commitments, but we have to do it differently because we don't have the buoyant market that we used to have in the commercial space. So a lot of companies are taking out layers, they're cutting out cost, they're removing non-essential people, and I think some of them were sitting on Justin's list, right? The first thing you do is you don't go to a trade show, you don't do marketing, you don't travel, you don't go and get those extra few people you thought you needed. You're operating in lockdown mode to a certain degree. So any company that's got a heavy bias in that commercial sector is going to see a long and slow recovery. But it will recover, and it's going to come back different. In the process of doing that, I think what's happened is a lot of companies have started to see problems in their organizational structure. It's highlighted middle and senior management shortfalls, people that can't manage through a crisis, can't take on extra work, can't color outside the lines, right? Think a little laterally about what they're doing. So from what I've seen, there's still hiring going on, but it seems to be more of a replacement than growth. And I think if you look at some of the metrics from Justin, the reason there's a lot of flurry of activity is because there's a lot of people in that flux right now of being either let go and then companies looking for hires and so forth. So I think when recoveries happen, those that are able to come in and demonstrate they can handle difficulty, they can handle outside of their general job spec, and can do things by leading through difficult times, will slingshot when that company starts getting back to a more normal. And even though some of the challenges we're going through and the reductions do pose a real challenge, I think, as everyone has said, it really is an opportunity to reset your goals, elevate your career, and reposition yourself in whatever the new normal ends up being. So, and it was great, Justin, you're a great straight man, because I was looking at some of my notes here, and it's all about value, right? It's not what's on your resume, it's what do you do with your resume, right? And a lot of it is really now discerning what are you good at and how does that match what the market's looking for. So in many instances, people are looking for a job, or they've grown up through their industry either by incremental change, right? You went from a manager to a senior manager to a director, and you're following that vertical pipe through your business. Or you do the same thing, but you do an out and up, right? You leave the company to get a promotion, but it's pretty much within a fairly defined swim lane, if you will. And most of the skills and experiences you believe are non-exportable. So like, once a quality engineer, always a quality engineer, right? And there seems to be that mindset that you believe you have, and a lot of traditional employers believe you have. And if you look at a lot of LinkedIn profiles, they read exactly like a resume, exactly. It's a chronological list of things you've done, and you read it and you go, senior engineer, extremely senior engineer, director of engineering, another engineer, right? It's a very defined path, and it's cookie cutter in many instances. But I don't think that sticking to that swim lane is necessarily the way to go. So for example, if someone has no idea what a quality engineer does and they ask the quality engineer to define their skills, what are they going to say? I check drawings and parts to make sure they're accurate. I make sure that I get to the root cause of a problem and I stop it happening again. Or I fill in a metrics form and I brief customers, senior management, and tell my customer about it. But guess what? You just got another quality engineer job, right? What if you were to reframe that discussion and answer it in terms of skills and values? You're an analytical and detail-oriented person. You're a problem solver. You communicate difficult and technical information. You provide clarity. You're able to communicate across all disciplines, all levels, within your company and to customers. It's exactly the same job, but now you've positioned it for something potentially different, right? So if you want to reframe your position, if you want to pivot to something slightly different, you want to transition to something slightly different, now you've started to talk in the language of a company wants to hire you, not of somebody that's trying to say, this is what I've always done. And you got to change the context of the discussion. So when you're searching, the trick, I believe, is to amplify those values. Yes, you can say what you've done, but what have you delivered? And maybe ask your colleagues, what have I done for you? And I think you'd be surprised at what people will come back to. And in that process, you can also start amplifying what you like to do. What of the job values you do, what do you like to do? And this becomes then a perfect intersection of what can you do, what do you like to do, and what does the market want? So you've got these three overlapping circles, and that sweet spot in the center is really what you're aiming for. That's the perfect job for you. And it exists out there. You just have to make sure that the person looking for it can find you. So those value adds need to be amplified on LinkedIn, not your resume. People can find engineers, but can they find an engineer that solved a problem, reduced overtime, increased value of the part by 20%? Those are the things people want to see. They don't want to see a resume. So you want to be easy to find and easy to hunt for.
I think it's an interesting time too, in that there's a lot of companies that are looking at their overall cultural makeup. They've been on a growth mode. They've been hiring like crazy. The employment market was so tight, so it was really hard to find good candidates, and they're just kind of taking what they can. And now it's kind of like a reset. And so they're looking at their values, they're looking at their culture, they're shifting and trying to make sure that when they do make these hires to replace some of the people that they've let go, or however that looks, they really want to see a good fit into the value system of that company.
Right. No, exactly right. And I can't tell you, and just a plug for LinkedIn, by the way, I was an early guy. I'm 30,000. You won't let me have any more people.
30,000.
We need to expand that for you, I think.
Yeah. So one of the things, I can't tell you how many times, because I always go and look on LinkedIn at people. Anyone I meet, the first thing I do is I get out my iPhone and I check them out. Where have they been? Who do they know that I know? How can I network with them? The number of times you look and all you see is a job and how long they've been there. And that's it. And you get about 5 of those, and maybe they'll tell you that they went to college. That's it. So I'm saying to myself, well, what can this guy add to me? I mean, What can he do? What has he done? What makes him stand out? And you just hit next, right? And what you've probably done is you probably dismissed a guy that is outstanding, that would be a tremendous fit for you. You just don't know it. And so the trick, I believe, is making sure that you're very good at distilling the values you offer and repositioning yourself and representing yourself to the market. You're still you, but you're doing it in a different way, and allow people to pull those values back into their company. It's a completely different way of looking at it than the traditional resume used to be. And I think the other point too is don't be embarrassed that you're in transition. There's a lot of people in transition. So the number of people that you see that you know darn well they're in transition, they're looking, still have the old company up. Why are you doing that? Be proud of the fact you're looking, and here's the value I offer. You don't need to be bothered with them. I'm not advertising where I used to be. I'm advertising where I want to be. And it's a different mindset. So in terms of what's going on in the market, a lot of companies have got to be, or are operating now in a much more virtual world. And when things move to normal, and I think it's exactly as everyone has said, the new normal will contain elements of the current environment. You will now move to an environment where there will be a lot of ongoing virtual activities. Whereas before everyone jammed in an office or you had to go visit, now you will see a lot more virtual activity taking place. But what I think we found, certainly in our company and companies we deal with, it's highlighted strengths and weaknesses. In systems, oh boy, are the tools bad? Not so much now. I remember, you know, when everyone locked down, you couldn't get in WebEx, you couldn't get on GoToMeeting, you couldn't get anywhere. It was glitchy and bitty and jaggedy, and anything associated with it was terrible. Not so much now. And the other challenge too is collaboration. Yes, there are some really nice collaboration tools out there, but most people, let's say, are collaborating on a spreadsheet. Which version's the right one? Is it the -1 or the -2 I sent you at 8 o'clock? Oh, damn, I just opened the 7 o'clock one. Oh, damn, you got the wrong one then. Let me send that to you. I don't know how many times that takes place. So the tools aren't mature. They exist, but most people don't have them. So that's been an issue. I think email doesn't cut it. Phone calls are good, but they're not good enough. And then what about security, right? You need to get access to your server. How do you do that? Do you have a VPN? Maybe a company doesn't have VPNs, right? So how do you do that? Virus management, spam management, people are taking advantage of us poor remote workers. How do you do backups? Oh, and when the backup doesn't work, do you have an IT guy, right? So there are lots of things that have come to pass that have created an issue. And then there are people issues. Do you have remote discipline? How many people get up at 7 in the morning and do the 9 to 5, whether they're remote or not? Well, they kind of slouch down. Maybe they get in front of the computer at 10 o'clock, a couple of emails. Never mind, they won't know, right? Are you easily distracted? Do you have problems with a self-driven schedule? There are people that can't operate remote. How do you find that out? And then can you effectively isolate? What about kids, family, noise, space? Do you have a laptop, dual screens? Do you have the right software? Does the company provide you with the software? So I think it's creating an opportunity for, if you can harness using those skills, it creates an extra layer to your skill set. So tell people about it. If you're a visual thinker and you can't think remotely, that's a challenge. And I think an area that we're starting to see is on the softer side of things. People are overwhelmed in this environment. They don't know how to cope. They don't know how to ask for help. People go quiet. They miss the telecom, or they don't answer your phone, or it takes a day to get back to you on an email. How do you find whether or not they're really out, or are they just feeling depressed about stuff? So finding a mechanism to reach through to your workforce is a challenge. And how do you coach remotely? So these are some of the skills I think that are having to be necessary moving forward. And from a business standpoint, I think there are a couple of things taking place. In our industry, many companies are resizing. They're retrenching along core capabilities. What are they really good at? Trim the edges, stick to what you're good at, hold on to your base, and then grow when things change. And in the process of doing that, they start losing what they consider non-core, like marketing, for example, and anything that's costly. But they still need the skill. So they're looking for people that are willing to rent in, looking to outsource, looking to consult with you. An opportunity I had where I'm working now, I consulted for 6 months first, and then I moved into full-time employment. So it's a tremendous opportunity if you're willing to take that path. And again, it also offers you that extra check mark in your resume. Yes, I can operate in a different environment. Yes, I can operate remotely. Some companies also are looking for a diversification. They figured out this commercial aerospace place is no place to be right now. I got to get into defense. I got to get into industrial. I got to get into big data. I just got to get out of commercial aerospace, right? So they're looking for diversification. And if you have a skill that will help them, that's key. And so it's clearly an opportunity to, again, layer in those values. Can you think out of the box? Do you have that reach? And again, I think the rent to own opportunity is fantastic in the current environment. People don't know what they need right now. But if you're willing to sign up to a 6 month secondment or a 3 month secondment and have that flexibility, again, it keeps you employed. It means nobody has to make that firm commitment to you, but you've got to figure out, do you have the backup to do that? Are you an LLC? Can people pay you? What about medical? You know, do you have insurance? Do you have the tools? Can you travel, right? You've got to do an assessment and really sell the new value add that you've defined of yourself. Because right now, a resume is not going to do it for you. And you know, as Justin said, the tools are out there to reach. So challenging times for sure, but in all things, change comes with opportunity. So my recommendation is try and restate your skills into a value add proposition. Just completely change how you present yourself. Be reachable, be findable, and I wish everyone success in these interesting times.
It is. Thank you. Yeah. So put yourself out there, right? Don't be afraid to change things up a little bit and just reposition yourself.
And that's tough. That's tough to do as a, I guess, middle-aged man who's been in a career for a long time to change my tune and to change fields and be open to other things. That's a challenge, and that's not comfortable. You know, and that's where I think you're right, Kevin. I mean, you can't sit there and you can't isolate and not pick up the phone and not return emails and those types of things. Now's the time to probably, you know, take contrary action and go the opposite way. You know, be more, get out of your comfort zone, read more, do more things, network more. I think you have to, and I think we all probably have extra time to do it now. And there's so many great tools and so many ways to do it. So. Yeah, have to put yourself.
But I think you can baby step towards it too. I mean, if for example you were to perhaps use Justin's go-to tips on how you build a knockout portfolio online, you put things in there that people want and people value that are not quite as narrow perhaps as your resume may allude to. Have people find you.
Sure.
Right? You don't necessarily, if you're uncomfortable going out and doing the big sell, have people find you and maybe start small. Start with people you know and then build up something a little broader from there. It's an uncomfortable place to be. But with the tool set we have, you can be sitting in the middle of nowhere with a connection and you can sell a lot of things that I would say, 8 to 10 years ago, you had no clue. You had no chance. But today, the tools are there.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, good. Do we have any questions from our other listeners?
Courtney?
Hi again, everybody. Thanks to Justin, Kevin, and Barry and Sarah for your presentation so far. If anybody does have any questions, if you'd like to type in the chat, we can kind of go through and unmute you or unmute yourselves. Just want to make sure that we kind of have some order to it and everybody's not talking over each other. So if you have any questions you'd like to put in the chat, or you'd like to unmute and go ahead and ask to the panelists, you're welcome to do so. Just a reminder though, the session is being recorded, so just keep that in mind if you, just for your anonymity if you need it, I guess.
So I have a question, if I may. This is Samantha Zizon, question, I think, in terms of the sectors, the industries currently that you see the strengths. I mean, I come typically from aerospace, and I think we all know really where the aerospace sector is, unless obviously, as you've indicated, it's solidly defense. So I have transferable skills. They're very much customer focused, but I really do enjoy aerospace. Now, if I'm to seek employment in another industry, another sector, and then perhaps when things recover in aerospace, head back to kind of what I would call my first love, where would you suggest I direct kind of my skills, transfer my skills and start to look? What sort of sector or industry do you think would be the best step?
Who wants to take it?
I can jump in to start. I don't know if I can give a ton of insight into like what industries your skills would transfer to best. Maybe that could be a better question for Kevin, but I think kind of just building off of what we were saying about like utilizing your network and investing in those relationships, like I would look into maybe people that you have worked with or people in your network that do the job that you've done and have maybe moved on to a different industry, and using that network to connect with them and get their thoughts, their opinions, see what suggestions they have. I think that would be probably your best bet. Like I said, I'm not sure of any specific industries. Maybe Kevin, you could shed some light on that. But building off what we were saying, I think just networking and looking at people that you've worked with that have maybe gone into different industries, and utilizing them and leveraging their experience.
Can I jump in real quick? So the way I would go about it, Samantha, is I would re-engineer an entire search and I would throw all industries out. Like I would start with your skill sets. So for instance, you're a process engineer and you've got these backgrounds and you know this experience level and so forth. I would reverse a search through like a LinkedIn job site or like an Indeed site, which is pretty easy searchable. And I would look up the keywords of those job descriptions and see what matches. And then you're going to start seeing a pattern of different industries that sort of hire the same type of person that you are. It could be, you know, obviously logistics is huge with Amazon, right? But we think of Amazon as just being a warehouse and drivers and a software platform and everything. But really look at all the stuff that's really going on in there. You know, I mean, you have buildings being constructed and you have laborers and you have inspection and communication and all the infrastructure that goes into that, you know. And then I would look at your core skills, match those into different job searches and see what you come up with. And then you're going to start seeing industries that match this background. Say, you know what? I never even thought about that industry, you know, and you might like it. I mean, who knows? I don't know. Kev, what do you got?
No, I would say, you know, when I presented my thoughts on this, well, again, is you almost have to write your job description, but without the word aerospace in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it really distills down into the things, again, that you'd like to do, because it's going to be a very tough sell trying to sell somebody on something that you'll do, but you don't like to do. Mm-hmm. And if it's engaging with customers, if it's solving problems that include people, if it's managing databases, if it is working with a team of people in a diverse organization, there are certain skills associated with that people would be envious of, right? And if you happen to do that in aerospace, that's great. But if you could look to, I don't know, commercial space, huge growth area for today and the future. You know, as Barry was saying, logistics. And it's not just, again, the FedEx truck. It's the back end system that operates around that. It's anything that touches people, anything that has a customer. And I think, really starting to think a little bit more laterally. I think it's very hard. I mean, like you, I'm an aerospace guy. I've been in it since I left high school. I love it, but I've been in adjacent businesses. I've been in telecoms, right? I've been in the IC manufacturing side of aerospace, kind of. So there are adjacencies in there that would fit, as long as you're not too rigid about the market vertical you've decided to go in. So I think what you're suggesting, Barry, makes a ton of sense. Broaden your scope, etch out aerospace, and see what drops out.
Yep, great advice.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate that advice. Makes sense.
Thank you for the question, Samantha. Again, if anybody has, we have about just under 10 minutes still scheduled that we've allotted for today. So if you have any questions, please feel free to either unmute yourself or go ahead and jump in the chat. James did write in the chat, just wanted to thank Kevin, known him for a long time. So shout out to Kevin from James.
This is actually, I go by Jim. Samantha and
Okay,
Kevin both
there
know
you
me. Kevin's always been straight up and honest and willing to help anyone when they need help with anything. And he's a very good resource and a really good person overall. And he's someone you can give a hard time to and have a good time doing it.
By the way, Jim, the check will not bounce. You're good.
I'm in the process of diversifying, and my second flip is hopefully purchased here in the next 2 months. So, I can use the money, Kevin.
Great.
I think the suggestion about values is huge. And I think I'm going to probably start tapping away on my LinkedIn profile this afternoon. And I will remove reference to Maggot, Kevin.
There you go. They don't deserve you. How's that?
Yeah. There you go. Absolutely. Absolutely. But no, this has been really informative. I mean, it just sparks a thought process that you don't necessarily ignite. It's very difficult to train yourself to admit we're in a very different environment. So you tend to get lost and tied up in how you've always done it in the past. A lot of people that I would ordinarily link up with, and there would be reference to other positions and companies. Many of them are actually in the same position as myself. And of course, a lot of them come from aerospace companies that are hurting as well. So I found that to be a challenge. So I've got some great insight and food for thought that's given me a bit more energy now that I think is going to help me a lot as I move forward to seek another position. So thank you, everyone. It's been great.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think that there's, times like this, everyone takes a chance to revisit, kind of relearn, take a hard look at, companies are looking at their culture, their values, candidates. It's a great opportunity to reposition yourself and really take advantage of these times and make something positive out of it, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Courtney, any more questions, or you think we're good for today?
Oh, always gotta unmute myself and turn everything back on. So sorry, I try and keep quiet while I'm not talking. I don't have any other questions that have come through. So just to thank you again to Kevin and Justin and Barry and Sarah. We appreciate you all being here again very much. Just wanted to also invite everyone to, I'm putting my slides back up here real quickly, visit the Digital Enterprise Society Career Center. We do have a job board listed there that you can browse some available jobs. We also have access to coaching and resume reviews, as well as our mentor-mentee network. So we encourage you to do that. As Sarah and Barry mentioned earlier, this is part of a series, and we'll be hosting another live Q&A and discussion like this the week of August 10th with Jam Khan, and Samantha will actually be one of our guests on that one. So we looking forward to that as well.
Courtney, I think I have another guest that's going to come on there too, who's owner of a telecom company, because I think that's a pretty hot segment right now. You know, with the site development, the networking, the security, and so forth. So, yeah, we'll be adding him on there too.
Thanks, Barry. And you can check that out at digitalenterprisesociety.com/career. I'll also be putting the recording of today's session on that page as well. You can also find, and I put it in the chat earlier when somebody mentioned virtual interviewing. Sarrah and Barry actually had done a webinar for us a while back at the beginning of the pandemic to discuss mastering a virtual interview. So check that out. It's on our webinars page. The link is in the chat, and I'll put this link in the chat before I close the session as well for the careers page. Also wanted to invite you to listen to the Digital Enterprise Society podcast. Barry has been a guest on episode 13. We're now, I think episode 63 was released this week. So he was one of our earlier guests on giving your career development a boost and tips for doing so. So we thank Barry for joining us on that podcast as well, and invite you all to check that out on your favorite podcast streaming platforms. Once again, my name is Courtney Mcmurder. I am the Marketing Communications Manager for Digital Enterprise Society. If you have any questions about the organization, our Career Center, or mentor-mentee program, please feel free to contact me. I'm happy to help you get set up with those things. Again, Digital Enterprise Society is a new nonprofit member association organized to enable the transformation of product development, design, delivery, and maintenance throughout the digital enterprise, regardless of software tools used. Visit digitalenterprisesociety.org to learn more. And we thank you all again for being here today and joining us in the discussion and your questions and thoughts and feedback. Hope everybody has a great day, and that's all we have for today. So thanks all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.